So this is Steve, and we're here with Mike Nutter at Parkview Field. Mike, you're kind of starting on the edges of this wonderful project for the new season coming up, a couple months. Tell me what's going on.
Absolutely, Stephen. It's great to join you. We've been doing this for years, and I remember doing it when there was nothing on this site, and everything that we're standing in wasn't even, we were dreaming about it. And so the biggest improvement over the course of, this will be season 12 coming up for Parkview Field, is a video board project that we are, like you said, embarking on now. We are here in the control room, kind of the behind the curtain, the back of the house area. And this is going to be so great for the fan amenities. We're taking a board that functioned well for years. It was standard definition, and we are coming into the modern and future times with a full HD package up on the treetops area out there in right field, and then a couple more on the outfield walls that'll be bigger than where they've been in the outfield walls lately. It's really exciting for us, and we can't wait for the fans to get in here and see it.
Now, when the board went in 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was one of the biggest in the league, if I remember correctly.
That's the way I remember it as well. I think at the time we had the biggest one in the league, and then maybe somebody beat us by a foot or two a couple years later, which is what we do in the minor leagues to compete with one another. People have asked about the size of this. Hey, how much bigger are you going? The big main board out in right field on the O&E treetops will stay the same size. And people might think, well, why don't you change that? The frame and the way everything is set up there is perfect. And so we can drop it in that same area. It is going to pop. And as you know, or a lot of the people watching this may have heard something about it as well, when last season ended, we also replaced the entire audio system in the ballpark. And so when fans come out this year, starting on April 13th and all throughout the summer, it's going to be all new sound, all new video. It's really going to enhance the fan experience. That was pretty good to begin with.
Now, you're not just working out where it's visible. Like you said, we're back in the control room, kind of the back of the house. You're doing some work back here as well.
That's exactly right. You know, with all the new HD equipment and the new HD cameras and everything that's going to come, for everything that the fans need to see and want to see, all that comes through and out of back here. And so these experts, we always joke as a staff, they don't let me normally come into this room without supervision, and they certainly don't let me touch anything because I'm the low-tech guy. But there is so much cool stuff going on, and these guys have been running cabling and wiring and getting down into small crawl spaces to get this stuff to go around. There's a lot of excitement on the staff. We're anticipating a big 12th season, and this is going to be probably the biggest reason why.
And you mentioned the HD part of it. That's something new as well.
Exactly right. You know, when we opened in '09, it was an awesome time. Obviously, that season will remain in memory for all of us forever. But we were one of the last, standard def boards to go in at that time. It was still great equipment. We had hoped to get 9 years out of it for sure, maybe 10. We got 11, which is great in this part of the country with the weather being what it is. But last year it became very apparent to us we were going to need a whole new system for this year. It was going black during games. It was dropping off. I mean, not what you want running and attending a ballpark. The great thing about it is that you'll remember, and the people watching, when we set up Parkview Field, one of the best things that we did was the Stadium Advisory Board. Half the money from the naming rights from Parkview Health goes into it, as well as $1 per person at a certain point for everybody that comes in for games and non-games and events and dinners and things like that. And so when we're talking about a video package of, $1.3, $1.4 million in that range, that's not where we're going back to taxpayers looking for money for it. It's already been generated within the walls of this ballpark and needs to be spent within here. So here we are on the verge of season 12, and this place is going to look better and sound better than it ever has.
And that's important to remember. It's a good point, because think back to the stadium at Coliseum when the Wizards were there. And if I remember correctly, the turf needed replaced and had no idea how it was going to be done.
You know, the thing about at Memorial Stadium, and I loved my time over there, the 9 years that I personally spent over there before the 11 here, it was only 16 years old. You know, when when the decision was made to come downtown, and then Randy Brown and the Coliseum Board commissioned some surveys to figure out what they could do with that, and in the end they determined that there wasn't an opportunity for another use for that kind of baseball field. I think that was probably right, or it was right. And so we're here on year 12 coming in, and like we said, it looks better, and there's funding mechanisms. And so when we were in front of Redevelopment Commission recently, you're trying to predict out as much as you can, but what's going to be coming online over the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years. And maybe one of the next big things is a roof, and maybe not as glamorous as talking about a video board, but that could be a huge expense after the year 20 range. So we need to just make sure that we keep this fund flush and be conservative stewards of it to make sure that when the other big things need to happen, we're prepared. And also, as you get into years 11, 12, and beyond, you're going to have some emergency things that a furnace goes out, something goes out. Our facility director, Tim Burkhart, that does an amazing job, says, most people at home have one furnace. Maybe in a real big place you might have two. I think it's 47 here. So when one goes down, they're a little more expensive than the residential models. And so we just want to make sure that as things change, we're prepared to adapt accordingly. One of the other things, again, not the technology, but one of the other things that we're doing as we head into 2020 is to extend the netting a little bit. We think that's great for fan safety. We want to be a ballpark for all ages and demographics. There's little kids around here that can't even walk yet. We had a veteran last year throw out a first pitch at 102 years old. We want to be viewed as a ballpark for all ages. And the extended netting, I believe, will help maintain the safety standards that we hope to achieve here at Parkview Field.
And again, you're setting the tone for the rest of the league. You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, when we expanded back in 2015, I think we were the first one in the league to do it. And everybody needed to go to the ends. They were suggesting you go to the ends of the dugout. And so we did that. And our friends over in Dayton, Ohio, a couple of years ago were the first team that I'm aware of. They went all the way foul pole to foul pole, and they hasn't hurt their attendance. They still have the longest sellout streak in North American sports. And as we talk to their staff and leadership, it's like it's been so great. Kids can roam around. Yeah, some people are on their phones, but kids are messing around, and games can be longer, and you don't want your attention span diverted too much and then be risk of getting hit with a foul ball. Again, it was always safe to come here, but we're just trying to up that even more.
Anything else you want to add about the two major projects going on this season?
I just think that it's great, and then I think one of the things that I would add that we are really most happy about is that whenever we do major projects here, we try and do as local as possible. And so the sound system is with All Pro, and that is a subsidiary of Sweetwater Sound. And so the office of All Pro is out of Pensacola, Florida, but they're up here all the time. It's one of Chuck's companies. It's a Sweetwater company. And so that's as local as you can be. And then for the video board, the folks from All Pro are doing a lot of the installation of this stuff as well. And then the video board is coming out of Bluffton, Indiana, for a company called Neoti. They're kind of a crown and a little bit of a hidden gem and jewel, and not a lot of people know of them. And they do great work all around the country. And, this is a nice project for them to get and us to get with them. So that would be the last thing I would add, is that you can't always do it, but in instances where we can, we want to use local companies and local labor as much as possible.
Well, Mike, we appreciate your time on a cold day when you're not necessarily thinking about being outside for a baseball game. But we're proud of you and appreciate everything you brought to Fort Wayne.
That means a lot to me. Thanks. You've been in there from the beginning, and we appreciate you as well. Thank you.